Hi there, my name is Jason Brommet and I'm responsible for our modern workplace business at Microsoft. We're fortunate as Microsoft, we have an opportunity to talk to a lot of customers in a lot of industries all over the world to understand what's top of mind and the challenges that they're facing. And I'm going to try to frame this in 5 sort of major trends. The first one I'll talk about is the skills economy. We can all pick up the paper, turn on the computer and find our favorite browser and see lots of articles about skills. And it's not just about the skills shortage, it's about the skills economy. It's about connecting the right people that have the right skills to the right job. Yes, underpinning that is critically important that we are building and creating the skills that are going to be required for the future. There was a recent article I read that said something along the lines of 70% of the workforce that exists today will not have the skills for the jobs that exist 15, 20 years from today. And so this idea of the skills economy becomes super important. Frankly, again, for any organization, irrespective of size or industry. The second trend, which I've sort of alluded to, is this idea of augmented humanity. The connection of us as individuals and as humans alongside this amazing thing called computing. Whether that be artificial intelligence, whether that be mixed or virtual reality, how we bring those two things together to accomplish more is just, frankly, amazing. And I'd say in many cases, we've yet to really see the output or the potential of what can be achieved with those two coming together. The third I'll talk about, and is super near and dear to my heart, and it's super important for us as Microsoft, is this idea of diversity and inclusion being existential for companies. More and more individuals are making decisions on which companies they will work for based on their position around diversity and inclusion. And it's not just a position, I should be very clear, it's about their practice too. But equally, individuals are making decisions to leave companies because of the lack of stance that they may have. How are we creating environments that in many cases reflect the customers that we serve, but takes advantage of the collective mental capacity and horsepower and ingenuity that exists in every human, irrespective of where they've come from, who they are, or what abilities or disabilities they may have. The fourth one, this idea of fluid and flexible. This idea of being able to work where and when I want and how I want as an individual. That idea of the smartphone, and so being able to access information no matter where I am or what I might be doing. And so all of us need to be thinking about how do we create this environment that is more fluid and more flexible that enables us to accomplish more. The fifth is this idea of purpose, culture, and company stance. More and more, again, individuals are choosing who to work for or who not to work for as a result of who you are as a company, what your purpose is, what your culture is, and more importantly, what do you stand for? As you think about these dimensions, and you think about skills economy and attracting and retaining amazing talent to be able to accomplish whatever it is that you do, it's an important trend that we're seeing play a bigger and bigger role in how organizations are managing their talent. And so if I put a quick frame around this, the other big piece that I would leave you with is this idea of change agility. Those organizations that are showing the ability to be agile, to be amazing learners, to move beyond a fixed mindset is the new necessity. And it is those companies that frankly are thriving. That too is a theme that is agnostic to who you are as a company, your size, your industry, or where you may be based. And so the one thing that is consistent in all of what I've just shared is this simple idea. It's about people, me, you, each of us as humans, plus technology. It's not one, it's not the other. It's about how do we do amazing things by coupling those two things together. And so if we think about technology as the tool, people as the focus, business outcomes as the value, it's about people and technology. As we talk to customers, we often talk in this idea of amplifying human ingenuity. Are there tasks and specific jobs that may and perhaps should be replaced by machines or robots or automation? I would say yes. But do I think broadly that machines and computers and artificial intelligence are going to replace humans altogether? Not at all. It's this idea of how do we use technology to amplify the best of everything that we as humans are. We as humans at the end of the day are creating that technology. We're also going to be the ones to teach it, to help it learn, to train it. It doesn't do it on its own. So again, if we think about this idea that says, how do we use technology to make us better and accomplish bigger challenges, and frankly, some of the world's toughest challenges, is really what this modern workplace idea is all about, this coupling of people and technology. There's a great quote that I read from Rupert Murdoch, And it's as simple as this. The world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow. And so if you go back to some of those earlier frames of reference and this idea of agile and learner and growth mindset, it all sort of gets summarized quite well in that quote. As individuals, as consumers, you just have to look outside your front door. Look at transportation and how it as an industry has changed. Look at hospitality and housing and how it too has changed. And so as we start to sort of bring all these pieces together, we land on this reality that says the way that we work has changed. And so whether it's this idea of internal and external and remote, being able to access the information, the applications, the data that empowers you as an individual to make the decisions that are most critical for your business. This idea of diverse workforces, people with different expectations, different preferences, different skills, abilities, and disabilities is the new and real workforce that we operate in today. This idea of employee engagement, the statistics here are actually shocking. I read something the other day that says roughly 15% of employees consider themselves to be truly engaged. And so as we think about that as employers, as CEOs, as heads of HR, we've really got to go think about that. One of the questions I often ask every customer and every presentation I do, which is, does anybody debate with me that your single most expensive asset in your company is your people? And nobody has yet challenged me on that. And so how do you get more engagement out of those people that you have? One of the great ways to think about how you drive up that employee engagement is creating incredible employee experiences. And this idea of creating environments where individuals and teams can accomplish and do their very best is proving to be the driver of business outcomes and value creation. There was a stat that I saw that said, of the S&P 500, those that created and delivered great experiences were seeing 122% more productivity out of their organization. One of the favorite parts of my job is having a chance to get out and spend time with our small business customers. And so I always get into these really good dialogues of like, hey, how should I be thinking about technology? And man, this stuff sounds awfully complicated. And so I think about it in a couple of ways. Cloud and cloud technology enables any business to look and feel like a big business. And I'll use an example, and I'll leave them nameless maybe for today, which is there was a beer company, really popular beer company here in Toronto that brews actually some really good beer. And I can remember sitting down with the CIO and I said to him, I said, listen, I said, help me understand how you think about this cloud and your move to sort of Office 365. What does that do for you? And again, how do you think about it in the context of your business? And he said, listen, we're a small business. We don't have a lot of people. And so we've got to be really thoughtful about every person that we have on staff and are we getting enough out of them to do the work that we need to go do. He said, but I'll put it in context for me. He said, my job is to empower this organization to brew amazing beer. My job is not to administer email boxes and patch servers. And so I've come to you, Microsoft, and I'm giving you that opportunity. And so for small businesses, I'd say first and foremost, the cloud levels the playing field. I'll leave it as simple as that. It's easily accessible, pay per user per month. And so from an economics point of view, it makes a lot of sense. As you think about sort of all of these other trends, what I'd say first is get the foundation right. Use that story that I just shared as a great example. Things like individual productivity. And so if you are an owner of a yoga studio, the questions I'd have you think about. Do you have access to your client list when you aren't in the studio? Are you able to respond to customer or client questions and inquiries when you're not in the studio? These are simple things that can be solved with rather simple technology before ever having to ideate on what might be the possibility of, hey, could I actually create a automated chatbot to respond to those customers? Worry first about, can you answer them? And do you have remote access to the email or your customer service systems that you may have employed in your organization? To then being able to think about it, which is, can you communicate with your staff? Things like HR documentations, schedules as a great example. How do you think about that collaboration? Again, can be solved with very simple technology that is easily accessible with a great, I'll say, set of economics that makes it super consumable for a small business. And then it's about, hey, am I getting the best out of every individual and every employee? And so again, think about, hey, am I empowering them with the applications that enable them to do their job? And do I have access to the data that they may be working on, no matter where they are, no matter what time of day it might be? And so these are simple things that you can think about before you have to ever think about some of the more complex, I'll call it, concepts. But that being said, Some of the most amazing innovation that we are seeing, particularly here in Canada, are coming from very small businesses. If I think about our small businesses and the DNA of a small business, you are small, which often means you are more agile. And so the opportunity to use technology to accomplish your business challenges, no matter what they may be, are there and they're right in front of you. Obviously, as Microsoft, we have a point of view of what does a great employee experience look like. And I'll frame it in maybe three sort of specific categories. The first is around, I'll call it services and technologies like Microsoft 365 that enable us as individuals to be productive, but more importantly, empowers the team with intelligent productivity to achieve more, accomplish more, to connect with those people that have the expertise or the input that can help us challenge or achieve the challenge that we're facing. It's an amazing opportunity to create and connect those services to devices. How do you empower individuals with the best information to make the right decisions at the right time? Whether that be sales information, whether that be customer information, or be about automating business processes. That's where technology becomes a business driver and a value creator. And so as we wrap up this session, I'll leave you with maybe three quick things. The first, if you've not had a chance to experience Microsoft 365, please take the time to do that today. The second, I've talked a fair bit about artificial intelligence or AI, and many customers are still, I'll say, challenged by this. Whether it's just a lack of understanding, in some cases it's a fear. We've now created the Microsoft AI Business School, which is just a great set of content, free and online, for everybody. To really, hopefully, one, give you some ways to think about AI and the role that it may play in your organization. Hopefully spur a little bit of innovation and ideation and aspiration on what might be possible as you think about some of the technologies that are ahead of us. And then lastly, I'd love to encourage you to join us for future sessions as we delve into more detail in each of these topics. Thanks very much.